The House candidate who stunned Washington by defeating Majority Leader Eric Cantor has a new campaign manager this morning. Tea Party favorite Dave Brat tapped a former Cantor aide to run his general election campaign. That means a new role for the 23-year-old who ran Brat's primary campaign. Reid sat down with the campaign whiz kid who helped pull off one of the biggest political upsets in American history. He is in Washington. Chip, good morning.
Well, good morning. Zach Werrell told us he lost 25 pounds during the primary campaign and that after a grueling 20-hour series of days, he simply needed a break. He may no longer be Brat's campaign manager, but don't be fooled. He has been bitten by the politics bug.
You run the risk of this being the high point of your political career at age 23.
Right now, I have a better record than Karl Rove, so I'm totally sarcastic.
1 week after handing Eric Cantor a humiliating defeat, Zach Werrell says it still hasn't fully sunk in.
Do you feel like a giant killer?
No, I just did a job.
He was not even a year out of Haverford College when he received a call asking him to help unseat one of the most powerful men in Congress. After a job interview at a local restaurant, Werrell was given the keys to David Brat's shoestring campaign.
We had 3 people working in the same space and then volunteers coming in. It wasn't this machine, establishment machine kind of political campaign. It was the people who were doing it.
The campaign was vastly outspent, yet still won with 56% of the vote. It was hailed as a major political upset, but that victory came with a price. The self-described libertarian's social media accounts were scoured for controversial statements. One blogger called him a smug baby whose Facebook page was a cesspool of contrarian BS. And when those posts started disappearing, it didn't go unnoticed.
The night of the election, I had about a bazillion notifications, so I just took all my social media down.
What exactly were you trying to say about Trayvon Martin and abortion?
What I was seeing was people are, calling for, you gotta get George, he's gotta be found guilty of something. You gotta get him, and then on the flip side, they're for what I see as murder, on the other hand.
Abortion.
Right.
Would it be fair to say that, at least politically, sometimes you're an angry young man?
I don't think angry. My goal is always to stimulate discussion. After learning what I've learned doing this race, I would never, ever consider using the same rhetoric ever again to start a discussion.
The searing experience, he says, is part of the reason why he doesn't want to work for Brat in Washington if he wins.
I try to stay humble and all that stuff, and then the name calling just because people don't agree with me on some issues, it really irritates me, and that irritates the American people too. We're sick of it.
So you know how to run a campaign, and you know how to win.
Theoretically, yeah.
Will you run one for yourself at some point?
It's not something I'm ruling out. I used to be much more enthusiastic about running for office until I've seen politics from the inside.
You sound like somebody who's going to run at some point. You're wrestling with the issue, but not ruling it out.
It's possible. There's a lot that goes into running a campaign.
Will you tell us first?
Sure.
Another reason Werrell says he's reluctant to run for office is that he loves small-town life too much. He grew up in rural Maryland and says he's happiest when he's down on the Chesapeake Bay catching crabs. The question is whether that will be enough to resist the attraction of the bright lights of the nation's capital. Nora?
So, Chip, is he still going to work on the campaign?
It's very unclear at this point. He says there are a lot of different doors that are opening for him, and he's looking at all these different possibilities. But he could do anything from small-town politics to to prepare to run for Congress himself. But it's not clear if he's going to work on this campaign.
But is it his for the asking?
That was really unclear. My guess is it's got to be because he did a sterling job for Brat in the primary.
Right,
but he really wouldn't talk about it. I think it's being negotiated.
He's not going back to Maryland to catch crabs anytime soon. I think he's just getting started.
Well,
he's fascinating
he was
to watch.
replaced as campaign manager, yeah.